Hey, Stick Together Tribe. This is our first informational mini pod that we're bringing to you guys. Remembering that this 700 plus members of the UK Ice Hockey Stick Together Tribe are either current hockey players who are, you know, well, you're involved in your career, also players who are maybe coming to the end of the career, and then those who have ended their career, supporting one another in peer to peer support, but also in information that Winn is going to give us, because I spoke with Pete a little while ago about coaching hockey in the UK, and he's offered his time to come along and explain, how it's changed, and actually walk us through how we can become involved or back involved or stay involved in the game that we love. But first, I just want to thank Pete for joining me today. Pete, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Nick. Thank you very much for inviting me on, and it was nice to catch up last week.
Yeah, it was. It was good to catch up with you. And I'm glad that you've come on here because as I've explained to you, like this space is for hockey players only. I know there are some people in here who have been invited. Might be some people who have come in through the early stages. And again, I always invite you guys, please remember that this is for hockey players and guys who played the game, guys and gals who played the game. So, you could always graciously exit the group. I'd really appreciate it because we want to create a space, Pete, because for my whole entire life involvement in hockey in the UK since 1990, I have played hockey. I've observed hockey. I've commented on hockey at all levels in the UK. And then recently I got back involved in coaching. I've now relocated, obviously, as you know, to the Czech Republic, but I still stay involved in terms of, supporting players through this group. I love hockey. And there's never been a support group for players, at what we're trying to do. I know there was the union back in the 90s with Tim Cranston and Joe Collins, but I always say this: these guys and gals deserve a space where they can come to and feel safe and feel like there's no fans going to be barking at them and stuff, because we know how fans can be on social media. And it's really important that guys who, like you, who've played the game and been involved in the game, and also the evolution of training coaches, and how we'll get into the kind of the prejudice or the old ideas, and even some that I carry along about, oh man, it's so hard to get back involved and I can't be bothered, blah, 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 blah. We'll get into that because those are true feelings and they need to be talked about. But then also how you've been working really hard as the GM of coaching development for the IH over the years to make it more accessible. And then we're going to walk guys through that. But let's get into that right away. Like, I'm a guy who, I got back involved because of my kids. They were doing the Learn to Play program at Lee Valley with Eddie Joseph. Bless him. I love that guy. Miss him a lot. And the Learn to Play program was something that me and him really had this kind of, we just loved it because it was kind of like the Mighty Ducks. There's just all these different kids from this community, and it was really beautiful to watch people falling in love with the game. And it was suggested to me, Nick, you need to do your level 1. You need to, I'll sponsor you through the level 2. Unfortunately, he passed away. But my process in getting that level 1 wasn't as easy as I thought it was, because I know he did contact some of the people in EIH. It was EIHA then, and said, "Hey, Nick Rothwell wants to get back involved. You all know he's played the game, he's commented on the game. What can we do? I really need some help on the ice." And it was like, he's got to do this, and I understand that I needed to do my level 1. It took a lot of time. And when I remember that this is something that I was volunteering my time for, I was a little bit pissed. I was kind of like, hey guys, and I know it was my ego. So, I played here. So, I want to put back in the game, and I'm not taking any money for this, and I want to contribute back. Make it easy for me to get back on the ice so these kids can benefit from my experience. So I was a little bit pissed. So can you understand how, that like 4 or 5 years ago, those were the ideas. And then even further back, a lot of guys have said they want to get involved in the game. They played the game, but the route into getting back it either was there or it wasn't explained very well to them, or they maybe just didn't know where to look. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the things and some of the things you've heard about guys trying to get back involved in the game and the difficulties they've faced.
So a lot of the things I hear is things like, well, I played at the highest level, or I played at this level. I shouldn't have to do any kind of coach education. I have these conversations on a weekly basis with guys. And a lot of the guys I know, I used to play with, some of them I used to live with. Team houses. And I'm like, it is a myth. And it's kind of like the routine has never changed since I did it in 1995. And I did mine with Stephen Foster, Rob Wilkinson, all guys who played, we all did it. And
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea of the education was to provide players with, just because we played does not necessarily mean we know how to coach. And a lot of what we learned 30 years ago and how we were taught as players, and I imagine there's probably some people on this call who are probably scarred mentally for things that happened by coaches back then. The world's changed, not the game's changed, the world's changed. And how we were taught 30 years ago is not how we're teaching players today. And I think a lot of it, with especially guys who want to get into coaching kids have changed. The kids of today are not the kids that we were in the 70s and 80s. They're just not. Um, but yeah, it is tough to get in, and I've kind of like I looked at it. I brought in a few years ago a thing called the foundation coach. I don't, and I left the association due to me not buying into the old EIH's way of
Mm-hmm.
doing things. The new board have been very open and they've been really good and supportive. So the foundation coach is brought in for anybody that wants to get back on the ice and help kids.
Right.
And you can just apply to be a foundation coach. You just send the application in through the club.
Mm-hmm.
A skating video is done, but if you've played, chances are, I pretty much guarantee I'll know you through the years. As soon as I see the names come in, I pretty much know most of the names that come in. Um, you can go you could go straight in the ice. You have to pass the legal things, so we have to do the DBS. We can't get around that. That's a legal obligation. But as soon as you do DBS, you get 4 weeks to do 3 or 4 online modules through UKCC. They take about 35, 40 minutes to do. A lot of them are common sense, but it just gives us a little bit of a refresher into getting back into the game.
Yeah.
Then you can go on the ice, then you can help the kids, and that's it. There's no blocker to that. And that was for guys who just wanted to come on. They didn't want to go on a bench and do bench coaching and travel on the weekends. They just want to go on the ice and to help the clubs and get it in. A lot
When
of
was the
people have done that.
foundation? When did you implement the foundation?
Oh my
Where?
God. I brought that in and I put it to the IHA in 2021.
Okay, so I'm wondering if I missed that or if I was just on the cusp of it, where they said
Didn't
where
miss
I
it.
needed to.
Yeah, you
Okay.
didn't miss it because I left. And then
Uh,
it didn't get implemented until I think 2022.
okay.
Yeah, 2022 was brought in. So
Right.
it's on the website now. You can go on the IHA website. It's on there. It gives you all the
Yeah.
information you need. You register
Yeah.
through the club that you want to go and help.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have you walk through that in a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
But there's some of the one of the things that I wanted to raise is that well, number one, yes, guys, if you're watching this and you're thinking you want to get back involved in the game, and you think because you had a certain style of coach, and I knew some tough ones back then. My first introduction into UK coaching was through with Mike Surrant and Milton Keynes,
Yeah.
and this was a guy who he could break a stick or smack a water ball around and stuff, and that was just the start. And then I had many coaches in between, and many of them coached very differently. But there was the idea of and I went right back to my minor hockey in Canada. There was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of bottle smacking. There was a lot of broken sticks of coaches yelling, and a lot of people think that that was acceptable. We have learned now through psychology and through different means that this method of coaching actually can create harm, and it's one that I think I'm a pretty nice guy. I think that I'm pretty, and I do a lot of work on myself, to stay calm and cool in different situations. But I got back involved, and we lost the ice, and we had to go to Sobel. And there was one Saturday evening in Sobel, and I was coaching the kids, and I had like the grade two learn to plays. And they were a little bit like 12, 13 years old. And there was one girl, she was just shuffling her skates in the corner. She was looking down at her skates. I imagine just kind of like mesmerized, but how her skates were going back and forth. But I was trying to do an instruction, and Pete, I yelled at her, from 30 feet away. I yelled at her really loud because my pride was hurt. Why aren't you listening to me? I'm giving my time up. You should be listening to me. And this was like this instinct reaction that I had learned from my coaches back in Canada, and it had been passed down to me. Now, I yelled so loud, Pete, that this girl started to knock together. I get really emotional when I think about this. This young girl from North London coming to Sobel on a Saturday just to have some fun. And she's got this guy yelling at her because all she's doing is scooting her feet back and forth. I'm almost like, honestly, when I talk about it deeply, it brings a tear to my eye because I created harm in a situation that should be purely for fun. So I had to do a lot of reflecting on that. I actually had the wherewithal to take this person aside afterwards, and with her mother present, I apologized to her, and I told her what I did was wrong, and that I would try better. And since that moment, I was like, I really need to do. I can acknowledge that the way I was taught, like you said, kids are different today,
Yeah.
but it hurts people, and we don't want to create harm, especially if we're doing entry level, getting back into the game. We want to create a nurturing environment for kids to have fun and to fall in love with the game. They don't need us knuckleheads going, you better listen to me because I'm giving my time. So I think it's so important to create these environments where guys can start to kind of unlearn and at least recognize, like you said, that the way in which we were coached isn't the way to coach anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Whitley Bay, and my first experience of coaching was at 7. We didn't have the junior leagues like we got now. You had under 16, so you would be playing. You would play in the 16s at the age of 7, and
Yeah.
the coaches then. I always remember we had a coach, and he's just sitting on the ice, and he's hockey glue, and he had a great big Super King cigarette. And he used to be on the ice, and that's a talent in itself, isn't it? He used to be able to do the drill smoking, and he used to just yell and scream all the time. But we were just used to it back then. It was just part and parcel of life, wasn't it? And school teachers were the same. They used to scream
Yeah.
and yell. But yeah, things have moved on now. And one of the things I'll explain when we go into the coaching is that the reason we bring the level ones and level twos in is because it's not just about teaching you how to run a drill. People can run drills. It's about what's the role of a coach in today's. Well, how do you teach athletes in today's society? How do you cope with mechanisms? And you run about kids not listening. And one of the biggest things that people don't realize when they come back into the sport, when I say the world's changed, look how many kids have. And I found this when I did my ice hockey camps. My wife started doing a thing on medical forms, and my wife's an analyst. And then she started saying, Peter, have you seen how many kids have got conditions that are attending our camps? Have you seen how many kids are autistic? How many kids have asthma? How many kids have got issues? And we started looking into it across the board. And this is where it's changed. And you're right. People come on and you'll be shouting at the kid and they'll just be zoned out.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're totally zoned out because they don't know how to absorb the information. And we have to learn the mechanisms that we can put in place to coach these kids, and how we do it is because we're not just coaches, we're teachers, yeah. We're
Yeah.
teachers, we're role models. It's not about just developing ice hockey players, we're developing young people. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it's changed. We're developing kids for the future. We're giving them life skills. We're not just
Yeah.
on shooting a ball or puck around. And
Yeah.
that's how it's changed now.
And I love and also again to acknowledge too that some kids are coming to that rink like they're going to school because it's their safe space. We
Yeah.
have to acknowledge that some have family environments are extremely challenging, whether with a lot of yelling and maybe in some physical abuse, and these kids are coming to a rink so that they can escape that, and we can create a safe place for them, not something that escalates it, and that for them to think, oh, all adults communicate like this. So you're right, we're creating helping to mold children, so we need to make sure that we are at you know the right frame of mind to be able to do that. So the other thing that I would like to quickly acknowledge too are the DBS checks, because I think somebody might, as soon as you see DBS check, you might go, ooh, but I have to put everybody at ease with regards to the fact that I did have, a criminal conviction for drink driving in 2011, and that went through the DBS, and obviously it passed. So don't just think because you might have a checkered past like I did, you know, don't let at least give it a go and have a go, because I know that it looks for certain things, and I know that you might be in fear, because you had something happen in the past, but at least give it a go, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's don't be put off by it. Really don't be
Yeah,
put off by it. It's there to protect you as well. But it's there to protect everybody. And unfortunately, some of the things that have happened over the past 10, 20 years, we have had instances where people have, ex-players have wormed their way in. They've groomed themselves in the family, and they've caused harm to kids. And one or two have served prison sentences for it. So it is there for the safety of everybody.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so for anybody who's watching this now and it's kind of like, oh, I joined this group because I've quit playing, or I'm about to quit playing, and I still want to stay involved in the game. Let's walk them through what they can do to get back involved in the game that they loved.
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest thing for me is getting back involved. Is a lot of people say it's giving back, okay? But to me, I think it's really therapeutic for you as a person as well, because you're getting back into the environment that you used to be thriving. Yeah, a lot of us, when I stopped playing, I was lucky that I went straight into coaching, but I really missed the locker room. I miss being around the guys all the time. And this gives you the opportunity to get back into that life again. Because let's face it, it's a great life, isn't it? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hockey's just a
Yeah.
great life. So I'll just quickly go in. If you just confirm, Nick, that I've got the correct screen up.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to talk you guys through is this is obviously the website. You can go into get involved. You click into coach. It'll bring you into our section on here, and it gives you a quick introduction of the coaching pathway. Um, so as we go into the coaching pathway, we have what's called the foundation coach. We then have our level one assistant coach, our level two team coach, and the old level three, which is run by Ice Hockey UK and hasn't been done since 2010, um, is the advanced coach. We are working with some people to bring this back in, and hopefully by next summer we will be doing something to launch this and get more experienced guys onto there. But how do you do it? So it kind of gives you here the experience you need if you're a current player. Okay, if you've been playing NIHL2 the last 5 years or one, a lot of misconceptions is that we give licenses to players based on the play for GB. And this,
Mm.
I think, Nick, is one of we were talking about, wasn't it? This is one of
Yep.
this
Yep.
is one of the biggest myths that goes in. Okay, so the accelerated program was brought in mainly due to COVID. We lost a lot of coaches, a lot of staff through COVID. So when we came back to play hockey, there's so many gaps in there. People had left, people had walked away from the sport.
Mm.
So the board at the time brought in the accelerated program and the pathway. So I can use Jono Phillips. We all know Jono as a
Yeah. Yep.
classic example. So everybody's under the misconception that because he was the captain and he retired, that we just give him a level two license without any experience of coaching, without any experience of working with kids or anything whatsoever. That couldn't be further from the truth. John has been
Mm.
working in junior programs in the England program for many years now. He was given what was called dispensation for a level two license. Now, in that 12 months, John has to attend a level two face-to-face coaching course, which then he has to do the assessment.
Mm.
So he hasn't been fast tracked it. He's still got to do it. But this was the fast tracking was mainly brought in to try and attract more players back into the sport, into coaching, and this was the quicker route that we did it by. However, not everybody wants to do the weekend course. Not everybody wants to do the assessment that goes with it, which is more detailed. So that, for me, that's where the foundation is a doddle. Um, it's all on the website. You go in, but we got the foundation
Yep.
coach. Quickly go into it. So when you come in, it just gives you on here how you join. And one of the things we look at is the online courses, which is how to plan, coach, and reflect. and it's 45 minutes. It's actually quite a good course if you think about stations and how we run training now. And I think if you haven't been back to a rink for a long time, if everybody remembers when we used to train, we used to do the old. Do you remember, Nick, the old horseshoe drill?
Oh yeah,
We all stand there, all 20 of us would stand there, and by the time
yeah, yeah,
you go, the coach would blow the whistle, and then you didn't even get a
yeah,
repetition. So the
yeah.
world's changed the hockey, and everything
Mm,
now is based on stations, small area games. So you can walk into pretty much any rink now, and you can see anywhere up to 30 kids on the ice, depending the club you're
mhm,
at. If you're at my club in Swindon, you can have anything up to 60 kids on the ice for a training session. Everything's small area drills. So that's why we bring this in. The duty of care is a good one because again, how we speak to children and young adults, depending on the level you're in. And obviously, the sudden cardiac arrest we have to do now because for some reason or other, it seems to have risen around sport around the world, and there's a lot of
yeah.
this going on. Don't know why, but it's there, and that's basically a foundation coach.
With the duty of care, like
Yeah,
how do you start to at least make guys curious to try to not bring into today's coaching environment some of the old ideas that we had from the past, the raising the voice, trying to let everyone know you're the boss and all this kind of stuff.
yeah.
Like how do you how when is that introduced?
So I think that's mainly done. That's why we do the level one.
Right.
So on the level one, we'll do the role of the coach and the
Okay.
impact on athletes. And this is why the level one's a bit more intense because we look at more of the psychological side of it and
Hmm.
how that can do. Don't get me wrong, you can still shout. For those that like to shout, you can still shout. You're just not going to shout at them. And how many people on this course had Oman Jonker as their coach? And if you
Yeah,
had Oman
yeah,
Jonker, you used to know he'd scream and yell at you, but he was never screaming and yelling at you. He was just trying to
right.
motivate you, yeah?
Okay.
But you can still raise a voice, but it's
Hmm.
how you use the voice.
Right.
It's how we bring that across. And you're right, if you're just literally pointing someone out and screaming and yelling, then
Yeah.
that has no day. That has no place in today's sport. It has no place in the workplace, does it? You
No,
just
no.
can't go on like that. So, so that's what we look at. With the
Okay.
foundation coach, you would be under the supervision of a level two coach in a training session. Um,
Hmm.
and that's the idea of it. It's the pathway in
Yeah.
for what it
How
takes
much?
to do it.
How much? Like, because Eddie had a lot of confidence in me, so obviously he would just kind of like he would give me a plan, and we would both be really busy on the ice doing our stuff. I never felt like
Yeah.
he was looking over my shoulder, but with say the foundation coach, how much of the coaching hour or hour and a bit would the level two coach actually be making a contribution or at least observing the conduct of the foundation coach?
So I guess that depends on the level two coach, Nick, is the question,
Mm,
isn't it? That's kind of like how long's a piece of string, isn't it?
yeah.
It's kind of like depending on how much of development the level two is. And I think we have to remember as well, the level two coach is the team coach. So a lot of clubs now have head coaches that oversee the development. Eddie was a head coach, yeah. So I'm a head of development. My job is to oversee coach development and player development in
Mm,
Swindon. So the level two will have a practice plan. They'll go through the practice plan with the guys. Here's the drills for today. We're either doing stations or we're doing full ice drills. They should be sharing that with the foundation coaches. The ex players will get it, pretty much.
yeah.
They'll get it. There is a lot of what we call parent coaches that come in, and I think
Mhm.
this is where the myth bit comes in. And why do I have to do the same course as a parent coach? I can skate. I can do this. Yep, you're absolutely right. You can, but the teaching side of it is totally different.
Yeah.
How do you break the skill down? How do you put it all together? How do you
Yeah.
progress drills? And I think if you've been out the game for like 25, 30 years as well, or even 10 years, the actual skill level of kids has changed now.
Yeah.
So kids are a lot more skillful than we were when we were kids. And that all comes down to YouTube, social media,
Yeah.
all the things are in there that the kids are there practicing. The amount of skill camps that are in the UK now compared to what there were 15. The old days, it was Durham Hockey School,
Yeah.
or it was the best, or it was School of Excellence.
Yeah.
They were pretty much the only couple of camps that were about. Now there's about 15 to 20 camps that run all year long. Danny Myers is in Ozone doing an awesome job with skill development at Ozone. Every club's got like pretty much their own camps going now. So the kids that you'll work with now are, unless they'd learn to play, they're of a much
Yeah,
higher level than what they were when we were that age.
yeah. Um, they are. I've been watching it. It's actually quite
Yeah,
this the speed, just the speed and the quickness has
yeah,
just changed a lot. The whole game has changed, and I think that's the thing. Like if I was, for me, I was, brought up in Western Canada. The WHL was what we were aiming for, and and I played some junior B hockey, so it was very tough hockey. And it was something that that even that the idea of, and people always go into, oh, it was the good old days and the game is getting soft and we think we're changing it, but that really bugs me because I'm watching kids over here in the Czech Republic and the way they develop as well. There's still a lot of toughness in the game. It's just changed as well. I think, and that's what I try to think about nowadays is it's not about building this kind of toughness. It's about building like life skill resiliency. And I think the game is changing for the better too, because I know concussions are up because of the speeds, but the way in which guys used to crush each other, and that those heads hitting the ice or the shock or just the necks going back. I'm hoping that that's something that coaches and players are taking on board as well as the game evolves.
it is, and you're right. It's getting faster now, and the way the skating works and the development of skating that we do now. I mean, it's in the old days, if somebody said, "Oh, go and get some lessons off a figure skater," how many people would be laughed at by the
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
in
yeah,
the team? Yeah,
yeah,
they'll just laugh at you. Now, it's just everyday things. There's a lot of figure
yeah,
skaters do a lot of power skating sessions. A lot of coaches. The way the game's played now, the kids can maneuver so quickly now. They can avoid
yeah,
hit. The speed
yeah,
is the key. But I think the biggest thing is we're teaching players now how to think.
yeah,
Everything's about hockey IQ now. And you're right, the
yeah,
game's changed. It's fine. The principles are still there.
mhm,
We score goals, we stop goals. We play the
yeah,
puck, we stop the puck. The principles haven't changed. The forechecking
yeah,
systems pretty much have evolved, but everything's
yeah,
pretty much there. It's the same, but
yeah,
it's how it's elevated in the teaching.
yeah.
And developing hockey sense or hockey IQ, as we call it now, is the major thing for players now. We
Mm,
need to teach. We're teaching players how to think, how to solve problems on the ice, how to play 2-on-1s, how to walk out of a corner with a 3-on-1 situation, when to pull a toe drag. Kids love a toe
mm.
drag, don't they?
Oh,
When to
I
pull a
used to love
toe
them.
drag, yeah. When
Yeah,
to make, yeah, and when to
yeah,
shoot, when not to shoot. And these are all
yeah.
the things, and this is why everything's changed now. So with foundation and the kids coming in to learn to play programs, some rinks run learn to play and they're not very
Mhm,
good because they're run by the rink. I tend to
mm,
find the best programs are the one that are run by the clubs and run by ex-players. They have the biggest impacts, and Billingham do a great job.
yeah.
Um, Alan Mountry's got a great job in building them, and Ian Watson, they do a fantastic job of development. And now it's literally it's everything's just play.
Yeah.
Little bit of focus
I
on
would
skills and just play. There's no
just
scores
play.
anymore. We don't even in
Yeah,
the under tens. We don't even track the league scores anymore.
right.
There's no league.
Just
Nobody
have fun.
cares. Just get
Yeah.
out there and have fun. And then
Yeah.
even in twelves, we start a little bit of competition. But really, in
Mm,
yourself in Czech Republic and even in USA and Canada now, that they're starting to look at changing the way the league structures are and the tens and twelves, making it more cross ice. Make everything's changing on how the game.
cross ice
3-on-3 hockey
3-on-3.
is
Yeah.
becoming really
Yeah.
big now.
Yeah.
So
That's all they're doing, right? Well, my little guy's 8, and they're doing, half ice 3 on
yeah,
3s. And
yeah,
I love it. I love watching it. It's just it's good. It's fun hockey. But
yeah,
okay, so Pete, foundation coach, this is a fairly easy pathway to get back involved in the game.
yeah.
Learn to play, I would suggest, is a really great entry point too, because I do know if you go in and learn to play, you might not want to go anywhere else because I had so much fun doing it
That's good.
that I wouldn't want to get involved in the other stuff because you're involved in such a pivotal point in these kids' lives and it is so enjoyable, and I know Danny Myers talks about it a lot, but when he sees guys, when they the smiles on the faces from falling over instead of the get up, you
Yeah,
know, and the all of the joy that comes with it, while looking at those smiles through the face masks is, man, it's just as good as playing any game. So I really recommend guys get back involved in this and go to these links and check out the foundation coach. Now, quickly, do you want to just give guys information about going to level 1 and level 2?
Yeah, so your level one is for what we class as the assistant coach, and it's a little bit more in depth. So that's where the safeguarding comes in, because you're going to be in charge a bit more of players. First aid courses you can do online. Um, we've got the e-learning, which is, it's got get into coaching, but this is going to be changed because actually removing this because we're going to cater for this on the course itself. The
Mm-hmm.
mental health awareness, and these are just little courses that you can do. Concussion's massive.
Yes.
Everybody has to be aware about concussion now, okay? The course is over 2 days. They're very, very interactive.
Mm-hmm.
There's guys on all kind of different levels. We go on, we do practice planning, we do drill designs, we go on the ice where the coaches actually deliver practices, they deliver drills between themselves, and it's overseen by myself and the instructors. And then there's an assessment that we do to qualify you as a level one coach. And
Okay.
that is what we do. And it's all about knowledge. It's about what have you learned? It's about going out there on the internet and finding the information.
Mm-hmm.
How do you coach? How do you deal with this? And some of it could be you've got kids that come in your program. The An example we've got is how do you deal with somebody who comes in and is very, very shy, they don't get involved, did have issues, and would talk to the kids and we'll open up, because what a lot of people don't realize is they'll go, teachers have a big influence. I used to be a teacher at school years ago, and I used to work in PE, and people used to say teachers have a huge influence on kids. Coaches do. And
Coaches, yeah.
the reason coaches do is kids want to be at the rink.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
not many kids want to be at school, especially sports
Yeah.
kids. Let's face it, most of the guys on here that played, we were more into playing every week than being in that classroom. So
Oh
this
yeah.
is why we have to do it. There's a little portfolio that we've got that just tracks you for 25. You can do
Mm-hmm.
a level one and a level two in the same summer,
Mm-hmm.
depending on your background.
Okay.
So you can do that. It's quite straightforward. There's a lot of people that they'll do the level one who haven't been involved for quite a while, and they'll say, "Do you know what? I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even realize like how much I forgot about the sport, or I didn't
Yeah.
realize how much things have moved on."
Moved on, yeah.
And
Changed.
a lot of
Yeah.
these are from guys that played in the old Premier League and in the old
Yeah.
B&L leagues. And there's a few guys who we have one from different levels. We have guys who come in who've played AHL. We've had NHL guys and who've played in the Elite League who've come on the courses and said they really enjoyed it. They're really glad that they
Yeah.
came on, and it's that kind of thing that we do, yeah. But then from
Yeah.
there, you've got your level two coach, which is your more advanced. This is where you're going to be running teams. And
Yeah.
again, the little bit of what I call housekeeping is already on there, but
Mm-hmm.
this is where we move into more how do we teach systems? How do we teach, depending on the level you're at?
Yeah.
How do we teach the game? And this
Mm-hmm.
is where it becomes more. Um, I can give examples of what we've had this year. So this summer we had Matthew Myers
Mm-hmm.
was on the level two course. Jason Silverthorne attended it. Was one of the one that was attended, and they've both said they really enjoyed the course.
Yeah.
They really got the point of it and how much it worked. But also for some coaches, they'll go on and they're working with these guys as well, and they're bouncing ideas off each other, and also they're creating great networks, which
Yeah.
is another thing. We're creating the
Yeah.
networks.
Yeah.
So I think the myths of it is so difficult to get involved, I'm hoping we're showing now that actually it couldn't be any easier to
Yeah.
get involved. But if you look at other sports, you can't just walk into other sports
Yeah.
and
You
go
can
and
you can stop
coach.
sharing the
Yeah,
screen now, because I do this is a big point, I think, is that you got to do the work. You had to do the work to get on the team back then. Yeah,
yeah,
guys, you had to skate the boards, you had to show up, you had to make practice, you had to do stuff. You didn't just get in right away. And I think that's the thing that I was arrogant, I'm going to admit it. I was like, come on, man, you know who I am, kind of thing, right? And because my intention was, I'm here to help, you know, I was expecting immediate kind of like, oh, great, yeah, here, go out on the ice. But guys, nothing in this life that's worth having is without effort. And I think that's the thing is if you are missing the game, if there's something disconnected in you and you're feeling like you want to get back involved, then do it, but put in the work because it's extremely rewarding to do the work. It's extremely rewarding to get the certificate, the acknowledgement, and then it's even better to get on that ice knowing you deserve your spot on that ice and you've earned it.
You're right, and I think one of the examples I can give is that one of our instructors, Shelley, she works with the UK Aquatics, and she runs our education program, but she's also an Olympic coach herself, and she tells everybody on the courses that one of the swimmers from UK Aquatics was an Olympic swimmer and wanted to go into just wanted to teach and bring athletes in. And UK Aquatics are like, no, you're going to go in and do your badges. We don't care that you win the Olympics. You do it. He went on to produce Olympic swimmers. But
Yeah.
again, look at football, look at rugby. You just can't rock up and say, hey, I used to play, I deserve to have this. It just doesn't work that way. The hard work needs to be put in, and you learn new things all the time. And the resources are there. But Nick, you can share my details with any
Yeah.
of the guys that can reach out to me at any time. I'll help support them back into the game.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We want you guys back in the game.
Yeah. Oh man, Pete, thanks so much for coming on and explaining it. It is, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is there. And it's something that you work for, and you reap the rewards. So there's no excuses, guys. Get in touch with Pete. We'll put all the links into this feed for Pete, your email address, your links and
Yeah.
everything, also the links to the site. So you know what, and let's keep this going too. I think let's keep the conversations going. We'll wait for there to be any feedback, any questions. We'll fire them back out to you. We'll have you on again. Also, I want to have you on the Stick Together podcast so you can tell everybody your story, but we'll need a little bit longer to do that. And we'll go from there. But Pete, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. Do you have anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, I just think, I just like to say, I think what you guys are doing is great. It's, the support mechanism needs to be there. There wasn't a lot of support for us guys in the past. But, I just, if you get back into coaching, like, I've got guys I work with in the coaching program. I've been friends with them for 30 years. And it's great. We don't see each other every week, but the stories. When you see each other, it's like you just picked up last week, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it's great that you've still got that friendships and then values are always there. But no, I think it's great what you guys are doing, and I'm really, really glad you've asked me to come on, and I'm looking forward to being involved with more and joining the group and being part of it.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. And I want to say too, I think this is a really exciting time to get back involved in the game because not only do we have this support network, but you have guys like Pete who have played the game who are making the level of entry more accessible for people. So, and I think the way the game is evolving, and I think the grit that the Brits have, is unique. And I think with the nurturing that you and the coaches are doing, and right up to Pete Russell, I think that UK hockey's got a bright future with the addition of this support network because I think this is an element that has been missed for a while. So, yeah, it's exciting times, buddy.
Yeah. So good luck with everything, and I'm going to go off and do some exam marking
Yeah,
now. So have
beautiful.
fun.
Thanks a lot, Pete. Take it easy.
Take
See you
care.
later,
Thanks,
folks.
guys.
Talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye. Bye.
Bye.